Have you ever experienced a series that spoke to you on a deeper level than any other? Something that managed to touch your heart in such a profound way that you couldn't help but find yourself at the mercy of the resulting emotions it worked up inside of you? This was and has been my experience with the To the Moon series by Freebird Games. Spearheaded by Freebird Games founder Kan Gao and developed using RPG Maker, the To the Moon series is a collection of indie, pixel art, story-adventure games consisting of To the Moon, Finding Paradise, Imposter Factory, several insert story episodes, as well as the recently released Just a To the Moon series beach episode. It follows the characters of Doctors Eva Rosalind and Neil Watts, who work for the company known as Sigmund Corps. This company employs the use of technology that is capable of implanting artificial memories within a person's mind, leading them to believe in the validity of false experiences. However, the legality of such a practice ensures that it is only exercised on those who are close to death and who wish to fulfill a part of their lives that was never achieved. Thus, the series' narrative deals with Eva and Neil's contractual obligations with the company to grant patients dying wishes by traversing through the very real memories of their lives to find out the means to carry out their life desires. I first experienced this series back in February of 2015, which would put me in my first year of high school. Back then, I was really into watching Let's Plays on YouTube, and found myself drawn to the games with slice-of-life stories. Games such as Life is Strange, Night in the Woods, and Undertale. I know Undertale isn't really a slice of life, but just bear with me, I had to name drop it, okay? All I remember was that it was a cloudy, snowy day, and I was off from school. Browsing through YouTube, I stumbled across Markiplier's Let's Play of To the Moon, and from that point on, it was history. My 14-year-old self, crisp on puberty, was absolutely and utterly locked into this story, so much that I proceeded to play it for myself afterwards as well. And boy did it hit like a truck both times. Before this point, I never really found myself getting emotional at stories and media, but in my mind, that side of me began after experiencing this game. I found myself searching out narratives that would help make me want to tear my eyes out so that I never cried again. But in my opinion, those are the best ones, as I love deep explorations into the human experience, such as this game does. But it wasn't just the story that had me in its grips. To the Moon holds such an importance within my roster of games over the years because it's actually also the reason I got into learning and playing the piano. Before then, I had played around on the piano, only knowing how to play simple tunes, as well as having learned guitar. But after discovering this game, and hearing its beautiful original score for the first time, I knew I had to start learning properly. For those of you who have played the first game, you know the track called For River. It was written by the dying patient, Johnny, for his wife, River, before she had passed. This track ended up becoming the first song I learned fully on the piano, just because I remember thinking how pretty it sounded. And that was enough to propel me into my music journey for the next approaching 10 years now. For the sake of this video though, I also wanted to briefly explore a few of the themes for each of the games in the series and my own thoughts in regards to them. I'll be touching on plot elements all the way up to the most recent beach episode, so it's worth saying that if you don't want to know spoilers of any degree, this is your chance to hop off. Still here? Great. Sip a drink and let's dive in. With To the Moon, a conversation can be started from the topic of memories versus experiences, reality versus fantasy. In our lives, memories reflect our real-life experiences and act as a metaphysical scrapbook in our heads. But what happens when we believe something to be real that isn't? Is it worth it? Think about any sort of meaningful moment or event in your life and the memories you have of it. Would it even affect you if it never actually happened, but you believed to the utmost sincerity that it did without any doubts? Many people go through phases of being delusional, but it's usually when we feed into our own delusions that we draw the line. So, with the case of dying patients, in this case Johnny, they are willing to embrace pure fantasy over reality. Personally, this has been one of my main takeaways after playing all those years ago, because I tend to think to myself if having fake memories would truly be that bad of a concept. As long as the memories run as deep as to what you felt, smelled, saw, heard, and what else have you in the moment, how is it any different from how we recall experiences in relation to memories that are true? Yet, it's worth mentioning that in the case of Johnny, his memories of important life events were altered, which involved important people in his life. In his dying moments, he believes that his twin brother was never killed, and he didn't end up linking back up with River until young adulthood while in NASA. Circumstances such as this give cause for concern as it ends up impacting those around you who understand what actually happened, and may also end up wondering why the patient wishes things played out differently. Which leads into the next game in particular. In Finding Paradise, the subject of regrets is studied through the lens of the dying patient Colin. We learned that because of the existence of Sigmund Kor's wish-granting services, Colin ends up convincing himself that the way his life played out was unsatisfactory and needed fixing. We see how he fixates on the contrived nuances of certain life events, how things were never perfect like how Sigmund's service suggests it could be. Thus, this game explores the age-old notion of, is the grass always greener on the other side? In my own life, I've gone through phases where I wish my past played out differently in one way or another. Sometimes I wish that I had done more and experienced more while I was in my high school years, because back then I was a majorly insecure homebody and hermit. Sometimes I wish that I had made more of an effort to talk to certain people with the possibility of building lifelong connections with them, but instead chose to remain comfortable within the social circle that I already had. And sometimes I wish that I had taken more chances to stand in the face of fear in hopes of experiencing personal growth, which is something I do now as a result. What Finding Paradise teaches, though, is that even if your experiences weren't the best that they could have been, they are the best that they ever could have been for yourself, because it's that set of experiences that crafted the person who you are. Even in such cases where your life may feel ordinary or nothing to be ecstatic over, I personally relish over such a lifestyle because I live for the simple things. A moment where you spill a drink at a meal, a moment where you took the wrong train, or a moment where you embarrass yourself in public. All of those moments and more are what gives life that chaotic splash of color, not necessarily the experiences you live through. Finally, in Imposter Factory, we witness the story of Quincy and Linry from the time they meet in college, leading to the birth of their child. A tale of love and loss is put on display, and as an audience, we're able to gain perspective on one such roller coaster ride complete with all its ups and downs. We see what it means to share love with another person, to have love for another, to see all the pain that ensues because of its presence in our lives. The two of them start feeling a sense of lonesome detachment as Linry's work starts to take off and she spends less time at home. The biggest pain occurs when Linry becomes pregnant and the horrifying choice must be made. induce a premature birth so she's able to have a short on time life-saving operation because of the critical worsening of her biological condition, or wait for the birth to occur naturally but risk the success of the operation. I think this game's story does good with painting the impression that love is not worth it if there's no risk and pain involved. Much like how light and darkness are two sides of the same coin, or how courage can't exist without fear, I got so drawn into the relationship between Quincy and Linry and the pitfalls they go through as part of their love story. I'm a person who loves imperfections in anything, in people, experiences, places, and honestly, I would hate to have them not present. Because I love what they add to the dynamic beauty of whatever it may be. As far as it goes with other people and the experiences that we share, we are granted opportunities of happiness, true joy, and to love, all because of the existence of those fleeting moments of sadness, despair, and anger that arise from the bad times. And that in on itself stuck with me long past the ending of their simulated perfect life granted by Faye and the game itself. To cap it all off, worth remarking just how much of a visionary Ken Gao is. The stories he crafts within these games is always heart-wrenchingly beautiful, there's no doubt about that. But you can also tell how deeply he cares about and analyzes the human experience. It has made that specific corner of the slice of life genre my absolute favorite. To be able to expose different facets of life in this world through the lens of an indie narrative with RPG elements has left its mark on me for sure. And it's because of him that I learned piano too. So suffice it to say, I owe a lot to him and everyone at Freebird Games who developed this series. Without this series, I would be a different person. I didn't talk about my experiences with any of the in-between episodes along with the beach episode, but I think it's worth saying that I think they work great as add-ins. Especially with the recent beach episode, I found myself bawling by the end. And I think it's funny like that because with each of these games, I don't know what it is. I think it's all going fine emotionally, but then I reach a certain point, usually towards the end, and I just lose it. Like, I wish I could just bottle up my tears and send them off to the Freebird Games office as a token of my gratitude for this series. But I guess I'll save them for myself because odds are I'll still need it anyways because, Yep, we still got one more to go. But nonetheless, I just want to say thank you for watching and listening to me ramble, and I'll catch you all next time.